A handful of you who just clicked on this video have the potential to become top-tier professional players. But nobody has told you the hard truths you need to get there. Not until now, at least. So today, I'll go over everything you need to do to get out of having under 1000 PR. If you guys are enjoying content like this, consider using code MARINTM in the Fortnite item shop. Once we hit 1000 users, you'll see me every day with a new video for 7 days straight. And if we somehow manage to hit 2k users, I'll go a full month of daily videos just like this one. We're currently at 312 users, which is crazy, so thank you. First and foremost, I need to address a very common trait of sub 1k PR players. And that is the mentality that the only reason you don't have more than 1k PR is because you can't play with a good player. Now, when someone comes to me with this issue, I always answer the same thing. Of course, you're not gonna find anyone good to play with when you have under 1000 PR. The hard truth is that you will carry in 99% of the tournaments you play at this PR level. Now, this fact leaves you with a few options. You can either carry the tournament and be mad at your teammate for not playing anywhere near as good as you do, or you can go into the tournament expecting to carry, and if your teammate has a good day and makes some good plays, that is a bonus. But even if he doesn't, make sure to hype him up and create a good team environment. I'm honestly very surprised that people aren't more comfortable being the person carrying. When in the world did competitive gaming turn to that? Why is it all of a sudden expected that you're gonna play with someone who is insane and play as good, if not better than you? This right here is something I see time and time again. And please, for the love of God, be more comfortable carrying. Understand that at your current level, you will carry in tournaments. And that's okay. That's a part of your journey. And hey, if your mate has a day where he plays phenomenal, look at it as a massive bonus and tell him how great he did. This is one of the easiest ways to get out of sub 1000 PR. Another common flaw with sub 1k PR players is not playing to their strengths in a tournament. As you all know, playing to your weaknesses when practicing is extremely beneficial. But when you're given an opportunity to place in a tournament, you should exclude your weaknesses as much as possible for that 3-hour period you're playing the tourney. A lot of new competitors try to do what pros do in tournaments, and understandably so. But a lot of the time, this isn't a great idea, as professionals are very well-rounded as players, whereas new players or new competitors almost always have some very visible strengths and some extremely visible weaknesses. An example can be someone who is really good at endgame, but not really good at fighting. If you know that this is true for your current skill level, then going for a 40 bomb in the first game or W King for cash or island is definitely not the play. You're griefing your own opportunity for success if you try these strategies in tournaments. However, practicing these things outside of tournaments is extremely smart, because using your time practicing your weaknesses rather than your strengths will yield way better results in terms of skill long term. Next tournament, before starting, make a game plan where you write down at least one flaw, one thing you're bad at, and try and avoid that situation in the entire tourney. And trust me, you'll already see improvements because of this little trick. You see, the problem with a lot of players is that they stay away from their weaknesses in 8 or 9 games in a tournament unknowingly. But if you haven't written down and understood what your biggest flaw currently is, it is very easy to accidentally put yourself in a situation where you get punished for this weakness, and we need to avoid that. Next up, I want to talk about VOD reviewing. Players at every skill level have hopped into replays and tried learning a thing or two, maybe from pros or maybe from their own games. But what is the most effective way to improve by VOD reviewing? The problem with VOD reviewing is that a lot of the time we just watch without activating our brain. So in order to fix that problem, what I strongly recommend is watching pro players play. Let's say you're struggling with final moving. You often go down earlier than you normally should in the final moving zone. What I would recommend doing in this situation is hopping into a replay, one by somebody like Cami and Seti. These are the two GOATs to VOD review and learn from. And before the final moving pops, you pause the replay. And in your head, you set yourself in that exact situation that Cami and Seti are in. And you ask this simple question: what would I do in this position? With these mats and with these weapons? How would I play this final moving? Maybe you come to the conclusion that you would have just used your mats to tarp into the zone on the same layer. But then after you've thought about how you would have played it, you play the replay and you look for differences. Do Cami and Seti full tarp this zone? How do they look for elims? Do they switch layers? Whatever the professional team you're VOD reviewing does differently, ask yourself why. What is the reason behind them doing it differently than how I would have played it? And what is the benefit of playing it like them compared to how you would have played it? Naturally, pro players also make mistakes. But as a general rule, this way of monitoring is highly effective, and it works for everything. Say you're bad at fighting. You go into replays, check out Kanata in a fight, and think what you would have done in that situation. Then you play the replay and you see what he does differently and you think about it. This activates the brain and allows you to improve at rapid speeds. I think one thing that is often not spoken about in Fortnite is being a good recipient of communication. And what I very often see is low-level players absolutely stinking at this part of the game. If your duo gives you comms that somebody's on him, what do? What good players do is focus on the information your teammate has given you and potentially coming up with a plan to fix that situation. In other words, being a good listener. Instantly being able to take the information you're given, setting yourself in your teammate's circumstance, and communicating out a potential solution will give you an unfair advantage in competitive tournaments because of how few players have this ability. Let me give you an example so you can understand how game-changing this skill is. If Veno and Queasy go for height and the opposing team starts build fighting, what should they do? Well, the average player would just build fight and play the 2v2. But Queasy and Veno are not your average players. Queasy instantly listens to what Veno tells him and he makes a plan for the situation they're currently in.
I'm going higher. Got it. Above me. I'm chopping. Dropping. Drop. Yeah, I see.
He tells Veno to keep build fighting and using his mats whilst he drops down and goes to the front side where he can get a better view and spray both of the opponents on Veno. Being able to focus on your teammate's voice and what he's saying, then super quickly coming up with a solution to the problem and communicate the solution at a high level is a unique skill very few players have, especially players under 1000 PR. But if you can practice and adapt this ability, your tournament placements will skyrocket. Lastly, I need to talk about the low tier players taking the wrong risks. And I see this all the time. If you're scuffed in a duo tournament game and you see a golden opportunity, you need to risk it right then and there. A lot of the time, what happens with lower tier players is that they'll say, but we're top 26, let's just play our mats out. As you all know, placement begins at top 25, but you need to play for top 3s, not top 13s if you want to succeed. In the long run, taking a risk where you have a good opportunity to succeed will benefit you way more than praying that you get another good opportunity when you're all out of mats. Understanding the rarity of great opportunities and acting upon them regardless of whether you're one placement off points or not is extremely important if you want to break 1k PR. The points exponentially increase towards the top 3 anyways, so being a little risky will pay off in the long run. Alright boys, that is what I had for you all today. Remember, if you want to see me daily for a week, consider using code MARINTM in the Fortnite item shop. And if you go crazy, it might even be a month. It's also the best way to support me directly other than liking and subscribing. I hope you boys found this video enjoyable, and I'll of course see you all very, very soon.